Number 10. Taro. Taro is Marie-Ange Colbert, a mutant we haven't heard from in a while, but who has recently turned up at least via text if not visually in the Dawn of X line. During the Ten of Swords event, she was the one to receive and communicate the powerful tarot reading that seemed to be reappearing all over the world. Taro's mutant powers are precognition, which through the use of her tarot cards gives her amazingly accurate and specific readings pertaining to the future of an individual or an event. She has also been able to get readings on past events as well. It's a very specific mutant power that is pretty intimately tied to the mystic arts via the power of tarot. But still, anytime you can read the future, I think that's pretty powerful.
Before we get on to the next one, just want to remind you guys, take a second to hit that like button. It really helps us out here at Top 10 Nerd. Number 9. Pixie. Part of an immortal race known as the Eternals, Pixie is a free-spirited superhero who was present and defended the Earth during the Skrull invasion. Pixie is actually one of the few survivors from the first line, and set off the chain reaction that helped to destroy the Skull Armada. After this, she retired from adventuring on Earth, but occasionally still assisted her fellow Eternals. When the X-Men went to the Himalayas and encountered Yeti, she was the one who showed up and helped to take him down, having worked with Yeti in the past as part of the first line. After the Civil War, Tony Stark considered her as a potential recruit for the Initiative. She has a set of superpowers common to all Eternals, including super strength, flight, psionic abilities, and she can even project energy, but not at the same level as some other Eternals. She is immortal and already hundreds of years old, and has a natural psychic block in place to prevent mind reading and mind control.
Number 8. Jennifer Kale. Jennifer Kale became a magical hero and ally to the Man-Thing at a young age. She was a teenager who was interested in magic, and using a mystical tome she'd found while visiting her grandfather, accidentally summoned a demon, not knowing that the demon would not be under her control. The Man-Thing saved her, and it was revealed later on that he and she had a psychic link. Dakeem the Enchanter eventually revealed himself to both Jennifer and Man-Thing, and had them both prove they were worthy before taking on Jennifer as his apprentice. He had been a student of Zered Na before him, a powerful sorceress who believed that demons from the realm of Somnus would someday threaten the fate of the Earth, attempting to invade. Dakeem gave Jennifer the raiments of a priestess of Zered Na and helped her to recover the tome of Zered Na from another dimension, helping to protect the Earth against a demon invasion. Jennifer is also an ally of Howard the Duck, and over the years has become a highly skilled magic user.
Number 7. DAYTRIPPER. Born with the name Jemaine Zardos, she is the daughter of a powerful Romani sorceress and grew up in the circus with her brother. His name was Stefan, and he suffered bouts of homicidal madness occasionally. The family adopted Nightcrawler in his youth, and he made a pact with his crazy brother that he would kill him if he ever became too violent. This eventually does happen, and it really blows up the whole family, with the mother Margali seeking revenge for Nightcrawler for killing her son. But anyway, back to DAYTRIPPER. She was first introduced as Amanda Sefton, a flight attendant who dates Kurt Wagner, aka Nightcrawler. When Kurt joined the Excalibur team, he asked her to also join, as they often go up against magical opponents. She once attempted to become Doctor Strange's disciple, and also helped to retrieve Captain Britain from the Time Stream. She has also aided the X-Men in battle against the Hellfire Club. She is a sorceress who follows the path of the Winding Way, and she is quite powerful, capable of teleportation, casting illusions, and hypnotism, as well as shapeshifting.
Hellstorm. Hellstorm or Hellstrom? Well, actually, if we are talking about the heroic persona of Damon, then in most cases it's going to be Hellstorm. Hellstrom is Damon's legal last name as the son of the devil who came to Earth for a time to basically sire children. Hellstorm, fun fact, used to be married to Hellcat, Patsy Walker. I just like that they both have Hell in their main hero mantle. It's pretty great. Also, that relationship ended terribly though, terribly. Damon Hellstrom, being the son of the devil, is also the heir to Hell, although he spent a lot of time not wanting to accept this responsibility as he often wrestled with the evil within him. Damon actually was originally planning on becoming a priest before he learned of his true heritage via his mother's diary. He has not only been an adventurer and a superhero fighting alongside the Defenders, but has also been an occult detective and an exorcist as well, seeking to better understand his heritage while also actively fighting against it and his father's will.
Number 5. Sister Grimm. Sister Grimm was part of a team known as the Runaways that had its run in 2003. The Runaways were a group of teens who discovered their parents were part of a crime ring known as the Pride that planned to destroy and rebuild the Earth. The Runaways fight to stop them, and one of them is Sister Grimm, who inherited powers and technology from her parents. At one point, she re-encounters her parents after running away, and her mother points her staff at her chest, which becomes absorbed by her body. This is actually her main weapon, the Staff of One, and it is only released from her body when she bleeds. She has magical aptitude in her blood, but not the usual formal training. However, after her encounter with the Witchbreaker, her power improves, and she can now levitate, teleport using portals, and even fly. She can also cast spells that change her surroundings, like transforming the inside of a building. She is part of Strange Academy, the professor of creative spellcasting. This is a perfect role for her, as part of the way her staff works is she can never use the same spell twice. If she casts a spell she's already used a second time, not only will it not work, but it may even have an unintended effect.
Number 4. Dr. Voodoo. Brother Voodoo, aka Jericho Drum, was considered skilled and disciplined enough to actually become the new Sorcerer Supreme, becoming Dr. Voodoo. Big, exciting level up for Jericho. Initially, Jericho never wanted the responsibility of becoming a Hungan, but after the death of his brother, Daniel, swore to him that he would train in the mystical arts and take his place, seeking to avenge his brother's death. Voodoo carries his brother's spirit with him, which helps to bolster his power. He was chosen later on to become Sorcerer Supreme by Agamotto. The Eye of Agamotto left Stephen Strange and instead sought out his replacement, choosing Brother Voodoo because he was considered pure of heart and at the time a much better candidate. Doctor Strange was basically doing some super dark things at the time, although he did have his reasons. Jericho is a skilled magic user, capable of manipulating the elements and mystical creatures. He's also capable of hypnosis, flight, and teleportation. And he's also a trained psychologist. Bonus!
Number 3. Man-Thing. Man-Thing is a tragic dude. He was a biochemistry professor named Ted Salis, working on Project Sulfur, which aimed to allow soldiers to survive biochemical weapons. It was developed into serum SO2, and it worked, but had the unfortunate side effect of turning its users into monsters. He once worked alongside Dr. Kurt Connors and tried to improve his serum into a super soldier serum, like the one used on Captain America. His wife becomes bitter after being neglected for so long while he's focused on his work, and she eventually sells him out to greedy AIM agents seeking to steal his technology. As he's escaping from their ambush, he injects himself with the only existing sample of the serum, right before his car crashes into the swamp. The magical energies of the swamp and the serum combine to transform him into a hideous 7-foot swamp monster. Man-Thing gets into some crazy mystical stuff, helping Doctor Strange with fixing the shattered nexus of all realities. He is basically vegetable matter formed with mystical energy and swamp mutations all wrapped up in a lovely package. As the guardian of the nexus of all realities, he has some serious mystical responsibilities. He is also very powerful, with his abilities including regeneration, teleportation, and even reality displacement. Also, his porous form is resistant to many forms of attacks, as fists or bullets just pass right through him.
Number 2. Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch is one of the most powerful magic users we have in Marvel, although the results of her magic can sometimes be unpredictable. Like during the Empire event when she accidentally created a ton of mutant zombies in her attempt to properly resurrect all the lives lost in the Genosha Mutant Massacre. Still, Scarlet Witch is powerful enough that she has been considered as a candidate for Sorcerer Supreme. She can use her powers to manipulate time, reality, and probability, as well as project energy, create force fields, cast spells, heal, create magical weapons, enhance her own physical prowess, and teleport. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. That's like stuff I'm just saying and you could speed me up saying it and then like make it scroll because it's so much stuff. The problem is simply that things don't always turn out the way Wanda had envisioned, and her mental state often affects her actions, making her appear sometimes even villainous, when that is generally the furthest thing that Wanda wants, to alienate herself. She is often just a character seeking love and acceptance who struggles to find where she belongs and sometimes to find her own sense of independence and confidence.
And here we are at number 1, Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange was a brilliant but arrogant neurosurgeon who mangled his hands in a car accident and became seriously distraught. When modern medicine failed him, he went on a journey leading him to Tibet, where he trained with the Ancient One, healing his hands, learning about magic, and eventually rising to the rank of Master of the Mystic Arts. He is the Sorcerer Supreme for the Marvel Prime Universe, and Strange has a really storied past, having been affiliated with many superhero teams and taking part in some incredible storylines throughout his history. I really love how Doctor Strange goes from arrogant doctor who only cares about money to a broken man who literally sells all his possessions to travel to the east, later discovering not only is magic real, but that he can control it. As the Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange is immensely powerful, and he also has a whole collection of powerful artifacts at his disposal. He is an expert in the Black Priest's ability to use language to distort reality, using the power of the words to create energy blasts, organic disintegration, and even paralysis. He can channel the extra-dimensional energy of mystical beings to empower his spells. And it's been said that Doctor Strange is as powerful as the god he invokes.
Number 10. Magic. Ilyana Rasputin is a mutant and the sister of the famous X-Man, Colossus. She was born in Russia, but when she was very young, she was kidnapped by a being known as Belasco and taken to Limbo, also known as Other Place. It was there she not only learned how to control her own abilities, but was taught even more during her time there. Eventually, she became powerful enough to escape, although when she returned, she found out that only a few seconds had gone by on Earth, whereas for her, it had been years. She then went on to join the New Mutants and took on the name Magic. Her powers include stepping discs, which allow her to teleport great distances and through time. She also is a master of sorcery because of her time in Limbo. Number 9. Raven. Rachel Roth is the daughter of the demon Trigon and human Angelo Roth. For most of her life, Raven had no idea who her father was. She was raised in an alternate dimension called Azarath by the goddess Azar. It was there where she learned to control and harness her abilities and emotions. It was Azar's hope that this would help Raven fend off her father's influence once, she eventually returned to Earth. Eventually, Azar passed away and Raven learned of her father, who, of course, went after her. Raven left Azarath and went to Earth. She wanted to recruit other heroes to help her in her fight against her father. Unfortunately, she was rejected by the Justice League, which forced her to create her own team, the Teen Titans. They managed to stop Trigon, but obviously not for good. Bad guys never stay gone forever. He eventually did end up coming back again. Raven is very powerful. She's able to cast magic spells, fly, teleport, use telekinesis, astral projection, and darkness manipulation. Number 8. Wiccan. Wiccan, also known as Billy Kaplan and formerly known as the hero Asgardian, was revealed to be one of the long-lost children of Scarlet Witch and Vision. His powers come from the same form of chaos magic as his mother, whereas his twin brother Speed inherited similar abilities to their uncle Quicksilver. Billy grew up in New York with his adoptive parents who, he thought were his real ones for the longest time, Rebecca and Jeff Kaplan. Billy was bullied all the time because of his sexual orientation, and one day after being beaten up by John Kessler, Billy decided to go to his favorite place in the entire world, the Avengers Mansion. It was there he met his favorite Avenger, Scarlet Witch, who gave him advice on how to stand up to the bully. He didn't really take the advice right away, he kept trying to avoid the problem, and then one day he noticed John tormenting another kid and decided, you know what, enough is enough. He stood up to John, which in turn ended up unlocking his abilities, resulting in him almost killing him. Later on, he ended up becoming a member of the Young Avengers and is in a relationship with fellow Young Avenger, Hulkling. Wiccan has a wide array of abilities that include, teleportation, flight, mystical reality warping, force fields, telekinesis, and telepathy. One thing to note is that he is still young. Many believe that, as he gets older, he'll become even more powerful, so, odds are, he will only get closer to the top of this list as the years go on. Number 7. Zatanna. Zatanna is a powerful magical magician. She's the daughter of the famous magician John Zitara and magical user Cinderella, who was a member of the magical group The Hidden Ones. For most of her life, Zatanna believed her mother died when she was, really young, which turned out obviously not to be true. It turns out she faked her own death so she could be with her own people. She was primarily raised by her father John, who took her all around the world, helping her learn and control the magical abilities she inherited. Unfortunately, an evil witch, Allura, cursed Zatanna, and she couldn't see her father ever again. But she was eventually able to break that curse, but it just took a really long time. Also, when she casts spells, in order for them to work, she needs to say them backwards. She's also been a member of the Justice League and Justice League Dark. She can also use her spells to control fire, air, ice, earth, plants, and she can also fly, control the weather, and make illusions, use telekinesis, telepathy, travel to different dimensions, and create force fields. Number 6. John Constantine. Oh man, John Constantine. As I mentioned in a previous video, I know in the original source material it's pronounced Constantine, but in all of his live action appearances and animated appearances, he's referred to as Constantine, and honestly that's just kind of the preferred pronunciation nowadays. Okay, so John Constantine is a magical con man. He was born in Liverpool and raised in London. He's a master of dark arts and smokes a ton of cigarettes and says whatever he wants, and that's usually why he tends to rub people the wrong way. But you know, he honestly doesn't care. One of the most famous stories regarding John is the Newcastle incident. When he was younger and not as skilled in magic, John made a fatal mistake that would haunt him for the rest of his life. John was called to help a young girl named Astra. She was possessed by a demon, so John decided to summon his own demon to get rid of the one that was in Astra. It worked, but John lost control of the demon he summoned, and it ended up taking young Astra back down to hell with it. John has become one of the most powerful magic users in the DC world, and since he is a master of the dark arts and practiced magic his entire life, John can, cast spells, he can summon demons, obviously, and travel to different dimensions. Number 5. Shazam. Originally known as Captain Marvel, Shazam is a superhero from the DC universe. Now, there have been a few different origins for Shazam. Today I am going to talk about the one that came out of the New 52, which was the main, inspiration for the 2019 film Shazam. Billy Batson is an orphan who consistently ran away from every new family that he was ever put with. Eventually, the Vasquez family adopts him, and that's when things start to change in a way. They are a very loving family with multiple adopted children. Of course, this still doesn't stop Billy from just trying to leave at the first chance he gets. One night, Billy sneaks out to visit a tiger at the zoo, Mr. Tawny, but is followed by his new adopted brother Freddy. They then decide to take revenge on these bullies from their school, who have, tormented the family for the last few years. Of course, something goes wrong and the bullies find them. Billy then decides to distract them, which allows his brother Freddy to get away. He then escapes onto the subway and is taken to the mystical fortress known as the Rock of Eternity. From there, the wizard known as Shazam sees Billy's potential and how he has a good heart and bestows his powers onto him. So now he can stop Black Adam and the 7 deadly sins. Now, to access these powers, all he has to say is Shazam, and he transforms into a full-grown adult with powers. The wisdom of Solomon, the strength of Hercules, the stamina of Atlas, the power of Zeus, the courage of Achilles, and the speed of Mercury. Number 4. Scarlet Witch. Wanda Maximoff comes from the Marvel Universe and has a very complicated history. For a very long time, it was believed she and her twin brother Pietro, aka Quicksilver, were the kids of, supervillain Magneto, but that ended up not being the case and was later changed. Turns out Wanda and her brother were taken from their real parents when they were very young and experimented on by the High Evolutionary. So not only did they reveal that Magneto wasn't her true father, it also revealed that she wasn't technically even a mutant either. Back to the main point, Scarlet Witch is just insanely powerful. I mean, she can manipulate and warp reality and is able to cast very powerful spells. Wanda has even been a member of the Avengers and ended up having 2 kids with fellow Avenger Vision, one of which we mentioned earlier on the list. During the events of the House of M storyline, which is now referred to as M-Day, Wanda uttered the words "no more mutants" and caused almost the entire mutant population to lose their powers. Oh jeez. Number 3. Dr. Fate. Now, Dr. Fate is a DC character that has been the title of different people over the years, but today I'm going to talk about the one that's arguably the most famous, Kent Nelson. Ken was the son of an archaeologist. Him and his father were exploring a tomb and accidentally awoke Naboo the Wise, which ended up releasing this poison gas and took the life of Kent's father. Naboo decided to take Kent on as his apprentice, even though, Ken didn't really want to. So Naboo erased all of Kent's memories of his father and began to train him. He eventually became very, very powerful in the ways of magic, and Naboo decided to give him his memories back. Of course, Kent wasn't really happy about the whole situation, but Naboo explained that he was the Lord of Order and has been fighting the never-ending battle between order and chaos. Before leaving, Naboo gave Kent a golden amulet and helmet. He told Kent that these 2 items would grant him even more power, and of course, Naboo's spirit is directly tied to the helmet, so anyone that ends up putting it on is connected with him. Dr. Fate went on to be one of the founding members of the Justice Society of America, and he has a wide array of abilities, flight, spells, telekinesis, enhanced strength, speed, invisibility, time travel, reality manipulation, and of course, is immortal. Number 2, the Spectre. Also from DC, the Spectre is a mystical being who, like Dr. Fate, has been linked to multiple people throughout the years. The most popular version being Jim Corrigan, a cop who was murdered by a gang. Hal Jordan, also known as Green Lantern, has also been the Spectre at one point in the comics, and one of the more recent ones was Oliver Queen, aka the Green Arrow, during the Arrowverse crossover event Crisis on Infinite Earths, based on the comic of the same name. The Spectre's powers are directly tied to the presence, which is kind of like DC's version of God, in a sense. His mission is to deliver God's vengeance upon those who are evil. evil. Now, on his own, his powers are essentially limitless, but in order to operate on Earth, he needs to have a human host. And that's where, some of his limitations come in. Although, that doesn't really stop him from being one of the most powerful beings in the universe. He has been a crucial part of multiple world-ending threats in the DC world, the most famous being Crisis on Infinite Earths, where he helped the Paragons stop the Anti-Monitor. And, fun fact, he is also one of the founding members of the Justice Society of America. His powers include immortality, reality alteration, dimension travel, flight, super strength, fear projection, invisibility, and the list just goes on and on. The guy can basically do anything, and he's pretty awesome. Number 1, Doctor Strange. Was there ever any doubt? Magic and Doctor Strange, they just go hand in hand together. Dr. Stephen Strange hails from the Marvel Universe. He was a highly skilled surgeon who got into a terrible accident, permanently damaging the nerves in his hands. Stephen tried to heal his hands any way he could, but nothing was working. Modern medicine was just failing him. So he decided to go beyond that. That's when he found the Ancient One, who taught him in the ways of magic. One of the things I admire most about Doctor Strange is that he has truly grown as a character. He was this jerk with just a massive ego and thought nothing bad would ever happen to him, but of course that's not how life works. And after the accident, he trained for years and years to become the most powerful sorcerer in the Marvel Universe. And that is pretty awesome. His powers include casting spells, astral projection, flight, because of his handy dandy cloak of levitation, protective shields, illusions, time manipulation, telekinesis, and dimensional travel.
Kicking off the list at number 10, Mojo. Making his first debut in Longshot issue 3, Mojo is known for using Earth as forms of TV entertainment for the universe. It's like The Bachelor in Paradise, but it's us. And we're like, hey, what's going on? Are we dead? And his power increases the more viewers he gets for this interdimensional TV show. So like and subscribe his stuff as well as ours. We want to keep both things thriving. So in 1992, the issue titled Mojo's Media Madness had this wild storyline where Mojo gets Rogue, Cyclops, Beast, and Wolverine to think that they are characters from The Wizard of Oz. That goes down in X-Men issue 10. It's so wild. It's kind of funny, but mostly terrifying. He's part of a race of spineless beings from a planet named after him called Mojo World. Of course, inside a pocket dimension called the Mojo-verse. We get it, dude. It's all about you, okay? Cool. So this race of spineless beings were slowly going crazy over time because TV signals from another space-time continuum were scattered into their timelines. He's a powerful sorcerer, obviously because of his list, and we're not exactly sure just how far his magic can go. To be honest, I was leaning a bit towards Mojo being the mastermind behind the WandaVision plot. I thought he had something to do with it, but thankfully it was Wanda and her powers were just finally coming through, all those crazy powers, which I'll be talking about a little bit later in this list. And before we go to number 9, if you guys could go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. It's this one, not that one, so make sure you hit that one right there because it helps out our channel so much. You guys are the best. Now back to some more evil magic users. Number 9, Spiral. Rita Wayward made her debut in Longshot issue 1. She's actually a loyal servant to that spineless whack job that I just mentioned. But it didn't start that way, of course not. Ricochet Rita was once a professional stunt performer. She became friends with a guy named Longshot who was from that Mojo-verse that I just talked about. She was attacked by this insane version of herself called Spiral that was from the future. So after that was taken care of, she decided to follow her heart and go back to that dimension with Longshot. And when they got there, Longshot couldn't pull through and they both were captured by Mojo. What a dick. See, Longshot's mind was wiped for getting Rita, which is so sad already, but for Rita, it just got worse. Mojo got his scientist Ares to modify her mentally and physically. So now she's got 6 arms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry editors, you can add those or you can't add them. I know it's a lot of work. So now she has 6 arms. She turned her hair gray and now she could see other dimensions. That's crazy, quite the upgrade. She was a twisted little version of Mojo and she got trained in the dark arts of magic and body modification. And as you may have guessed, that future version of her was just that. Mojo sent her new and improved self to go back in time and attack her past self. Number 8, the Dire Wraiths. Back when the Skrulls were still in their early stages of existence, the Celestials came to Skrullos and experimented on all of these life forms. Now, some of these Skrulls grew up to become the Dire Wraiths. They studied black magic and they got out of Dodge. They were like, cool, good info, you guys are all pretty nuts, we're out of here.
They use magic and technology to take on the form of other species, and they would try and take over the world with these abilities. They're bad guys. The Earth would have just been wiped out probably by these guys if Rom the Space Knight didn't have a device to reveal a dire wraith. It's kind of like the eyes of truth, the lens of truth from Zelda. You're like, that's a dire wraith right there. Nice genes, you're a wraith. They emerged from the Deviant Scrolls, and when Galactus came to their homeworld, they made it rain acid and destroyed all of his equipment. Yeah, they made it rain acid. So, they're evil. The sorcery is strong with this one, for sure. Number 7, Selene. She made her first debut in New Mutants issue 9. Selene was born around 17,000 years ago in Europe, so she's a bit old, right after the oceans swallowed Atlantis. She's known as the Black Queen of the Hellfire Club, and she blends her mutant abilities with her magical abilities. So she's quite a pain in the neck. Well, actually, if she made contact with your neck, you would turn into dust. What makes Selene so powerful yet feared is that she has life force absorption. She can drain the life forces of a human and then absorb that power for herself. It keeps her young and beautiful. Maybe that's Jennifer Aniston's secret. Maybe that's it all along. I don't know. I'm just guessing. It would make sense. Timeline, it would make sense. Who knows? But not only does the victim's body crumble to dust, but Selene takes your memories. She'll be hanging out and she's like, did I forget my phone charger? No, wait, no, that was Brian, the guy I just absorbed. Yeah, see, I lose track sometimes. Come on, let's go. Number 6, Agatha Harkness. Now, of course, we gotta mention Agatha. I mean, it was Agatha all along, right, guys? We just saw her show her true colors as WandaVision came to an end. Agatha Harkness is pretty old, as most witches ought to be. She made her first comic book debut in Fantastic Four issue 94. She was in the 17th century Salem witch trials, and what she would do is she would turn over various sorcerers to these witch haters, and her whole idea was that she made the witch community stronger by ridding it of those who couldn't defend themselves. Okay. So she had one child named Nicholas Scratch, who was a warlock. Now, in WandaVision, we meet Senior Scratchy, and there was even a deleted scene that showed him in his demonic form and in action, but they cut that because of COVIDs. Sad. She's an expert with spells, and as she gets older, even older than she already is, she becomes physically weaker, which makes sense. Your bones get brittle, you gotta drink your milk. But she does have a cat, the classic witch thing. She's got a cat named Ebony, which is a powerful extra-dimensional creature. She uses the cat to run errands, you know, having old knees and all. She's like, can you grab me some milk? Thanks. Old ladies are watching this, they're like, that was offensive. Didn't like that one. Number 5, Malekith the Accursed. Making his first appearance in Thor issue 344, Malekith was a dark elf born the 13th son to a 13th son. I'm like the second son to a second son. And that guy's name's Douglas. I'm not even nearly as cool as this guy. He was the leader of the Dark Elves, and when it comes to magic, he's a natural. He was born that way, baby. Malekith can manipulate great amounts of mystical energy for whatever reasons he needs. He can use magic to alter his own appearance. The dude at one point turns himself into mist, like the Coca-Cola mist zone at theme parks. Dude can just hang out as mist and cool you down. And if the mystic mist isn't cutting it for transportation, he can straight up teleport. And he can teleport through dimensions as well, so cool. Who needs Uber? That girl was coughing on the Ubers. She's like, oh, can I turn to mist? How do I get around town? I honestly love the look of Malekith in the comics. Thor the Dark World, I mean, least favorite Thor movie by far, but the Dark Elf stuff was fun, I think, for a little. One of my favorite tricks by Malekith is when he used magic to heal himself whilst also appearing dead, which is what I do every time I fall asleep on the bus. He does have a weakness though, iron. Yeah, his powers don't work against iron, and if he were to make physical contact with iron, it would burn his skin. So Iron Man, what's up? Not actually iron, I know guys, I know. Number 4, Morgan Le Fay. Medieval witches in alternate timelines. That should sell you enough, that's it. Making her first appearance in Black Knight issue 1 back in 1955, after Atlantis sunk way back in the day, there were islands that were left over. And on the largest of those islands, Avalon, Igraine was a sea princess who had a daughter with a man from the Sacred Clan. Man from the Sacred Clan, that's not right. The daughter being Morgan. So Morgan was taken to the House of Virgins to serve as a sea princess. They all left the islands after a young priest warned them of an upcoming catastrophe. And then the islands were drowned by massive waves caused by this volcano that exploded. It was a whole thing. She's been a recurring villain to the Avengers in the comics for a while now. And when the Dark Avengers were formed by Norman Osborn, Morgan was their first enemy to face off against. Talk about setting that scary bar nice and high. She's a powerful spellcaster, one of those spells being reality warping by using the Norn stones. She travels through time, and one of the craziest trips back through time was in Dark Avengers when she went back to take care of Doom when he was just a wee child. But she didn't take care of him. She actually instead wanted him to know why she planned on taking care of him, which is like the most villain thing ever. She's like, hey buddy, yeah, I was gonna kill you, but I didn't. Okay, bye. So crazy. Yeah, time travel is easy for her. She can even manipulate the rules of time travel to repeatedly undo her own death and return unharmed to that same battle, which has got to be confusing to whoever she's fighting. What? What? Dude, this sucks. That's amazing. And weakness also, you guessed it, iron. Absolutely. Number 3, Amatsu Mikaboshi. Amatsu Mikaboshi is based on a demon from Japanese mythology. He was trying to take over Olympus and Asgard, but he got locked up for his crimes, of course. An incarnation of the primordial darkness and chaos that existed before the universe. They're also referred to as the Chaos King, which has a nice little ring to it. That sounds good. During the secret invasion event, the Earth's heroes and villains set up this God Squad, led by Hercules, to act as a defense. Now, the God Squad sounds cool when you say it out loud, but they weren't necessarily on board with this evil shapeshifter just lurking about the team, you know? He could transform into anything. He's an expert shapeshifter, and his go-to appearance just happens to be a massive creature from darkness itself. I'm taking on this form because, you know, I'm trying to be a little nerdy boy. So it's safe to say that this one was born into the hashtag villain life. Number 2, Amora the Enchantress. She made her first debut in Journey into Mystery issue 103, and her relationship with Thor is, honestly, I'd love to see this in live action. It's kind of crazy. So half the time she wants to get with Thor, you know, and then the other half she wants to take him out. So most Asgardians are based off of a real life myth, like Thor of course, but she's fresh from the mind of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. And she has a pretty sweet life. She's got multiple mansions throughout the 9 realms, and she can make gold and diamonds with her tears. So even if she's sad, she's still hashtag rich. So she's really good at seducing people. For example, Scourge, she would seduce him into helping her with her evil plans, and he was so into her that he wouldn't even care. He would just do anything to help her out. He was kind of whipped. Meanwhile, Amora wouldn't follow through with her side of the deal. She would just play hard and get it. She's like, yeah, you want that? Go do something. Go cover my shift. I'm not doing that for you. Bye. So she messes with your mind and your heart. That's a villain. Now in the comics, she was sent by Odin to take out Jane Foster because the whole loving on different worlds thing, that's kind of a no-no. Long distance relationships, we don't do that. So she tried to attack Jane and Thor intervened. And then she was banished to Earth by Odin. What a story, like what a resume. Where she then joined the Masters of Evil, of course. Her tool is seduction. Just one kiss mwah, is all it takes to make you in her control. She doesn't have too much experience with hand-to-hand combat because, well, she just gets other dudes like Scourge to fight for her, which is not a bad idea at all. I'm kind of loving that system, not gonna lie to you. And finally, number 1, Scarlet Witch. No more mutants. We were all counting down the days until the end of WandaVision because we could finally, perhaps maybe see an evil Wanda Maximoff. And we did, and it was so good. She's the daughter of Magneto and the twin brother of Quicksilver, aka Pietro Maximoff. Now, she was on her father's Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, but at one point she did join the Avengers. So she's a little flippy-floppy. She's one of the biggest Marvel characters, and during the events of M-Day, she spoke those 3 words, and just like that, a mass amount of mutants were depowered, or worse, that large number being 986,618, only leaving a couple hundred depressed mutants left. Now, the end of episode 8 of WandaVision had fans pretty jazzed. Agatha Harkness refers to Wanda as the Scarlet Witch, finally! But, she also references this chaos magic. What is this chaos magic? Well, Wanda in the comics got her powers through the old gods of chaos. So this god came to her the day she was born, not really a blessing, but rather it was done so that this chaos god could add to Wanda's powers and then later use her as a vessel that he could one day possess when she was fully grown. And we see this take place in Avengers issue 186. Now with WandaVision's ending, it seems like the MCU is going to start kind of leaning into this villain role for Wanda, because last we saw her, she was studying the Book of the Damned. There was ominous music, she was floating, doing some witch stuff. I'm excited for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I'd love to see Elizabeth Olsen go dark. She's an amazing actor. Holy sh**. Kicking off the list at number 10, we have Mojo World. This first one sounds fun, like for a bit, but then it becomes a nightmare if you're actually there. Mojo World is an extra-dimensional and extra-temporal realm inhabited by the spineless ones. Their world is pretty unique. See, what happens is that the signals from Earth, be it radio or television, get distorted and sent through time to these spineless ones, and it happened early in their existence too. So now, the species loves televised entertainment, as do we. Who knows, maybe they're watching WandaVision season 4 right now. We never know, it's all crazy up there. They feared humans, but were in awe of them. Kind of like most humans. Like, I like Chris, but you know, you never know. You never know. There is a ruler, of course, there is a ruler, and his name is Mojo, and he produces movies and TV shows to keep the spineless ones entertained. Are you not entertained? Mojo World is an interdimensional world home to beautiful mountains, rivers, oceans, and of course, the occasional plasma storm. So bring your interdimensional umbrella and some popcorn because Mojo World is pretty weird yet entertaining. And before we go on to number 9, if you guys could go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, it really does wonders for our channel. You guys are the best, thank you so much. Now back to some more marvelous magical worlds. Number 9, Otherworld. Otherworld is a pocket dimension adjacent to Earth, and its purpose is to serve as a nexus to other dimensions within our reality and also other realities in the multiverse. So if you're guarding Otherworld, you're basically guarding the intersection between all of realities. No pressure. The Celtic powers of Otherworld match those of Asgard, which I will of course talk about later on in this list. And since it's a nexus between realities, there's a number of provinces that coexist on Otherworld, like Avalon and Dryador. See, some kingdoms have existed for quite some time, and others are still pretty fresh. At the center of Otherworld, we have the Starlight Citadel, the headquarters of the Omniversal Guardian, and it acts as this meeting point for all of these realities that I mentioned. It's beautiful. Number 8, the Dark Dimension. The Dark Dimension is also referred to as Subware, not somewhere, but Subware. It's actually where all of our subscribers come from, actually. No, I'm just kidding. The Dark Dimension first popped up in comics with Strange Tales issues 126. It's the place Dormammu and Umar were both banished to by the Faultine. See, it started off as this massive singular plane, but during a conflict, it was shattered into multiple planes like the Splinter Realms or the Archipelago of Anguish and Redemption, which is fun to say. We of course see the Dark Dimension in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a void within the multiverse. The Masters of the Mystic Art managed to protect Earth from the Dark Dimension by building 3 sanctums, one in London, one in Hong Kong, and of course the one we all know the best, the one in New York, where Doctor Strange resides currently. I feel like we're not quite done with the Dark Dimension in the MCU, at least I hope we're not, because it's one of the coolest places I've seen. Aside from number 7, the Astral Plane. The Astral Plane is an alternate dimension that has an equivalent space to our own, where matter is composed of ectoplasm. We see Stephen Strange get popped into the Astral Plane in Doctor Strange, well, rather the Astral Dimension in that movie. See, it's a parallel dimension where the soul exists outside of its body, and to access it, you have to be successfully separated from your physical form, which isn't something that you do. You can't just sneeze and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, what happened? Oh, bless you. Thanks. You're welcome. You have to exist in a pure energy form, so you might need a wizard or two. We see this plane in other Marvel properties as well, like in Black Panther, Eric Killmonger and the Black Panther are able to have a conversation with their deceased fathers, and when they wake up, it's like no time has passed at all. Well, that's because in the astral plane, time is slowed way down. So much so, in fact, that when Stephen Strange uses it, he's able to leave his body, have a conversation with the Ancient One, and then return to his body before his body even hits the ground. So blink and you just may miss it. Number 6, Nexus of all realities. The Nexus is a cross-dimensional gateway that provides a pathway to any and all possible realities. And I mean all of them, even the realities between realities. In its comic origins, it's actually unknown if some being created it or if it just happens to be the one place in the multiverse where all realities just happen to naturally intersect. And we see it for the first time in Fear issue 11. We see it in Man-Thing's swamp in Bywater, New Orleans. The ancestors referred to the area of the swamp called Darkwater as the nexus of all realities. So next time you take a dip in a swamp, you just might be not in our dimension anymore. So I don't know, maybe hold your breath, plug your nose. You don't know where you're gonna end up in that puddle. Number 5, Soul World. One of the many conversations I had with friends after we saw Infinity War for the first time was where exactly Thanos went after he snapped his fingers. It was this large orange paradise almost. It looked like the place where you fight Dark Link in Ocarina of Time, but with more orange. Just an opening, confusing area. Well, it turns out this was a brief look at Soul World. It was originally included in Avengers Endgame after Tony snaps his fingers, but it was deleted to avoid more Zelda flashbacks. No, Soul World is the dimension existing inside of the Soul Gem. So while Thanos was in this pocket dimension briefly, he spoke to a younger version of Gamora. And in the comics, Gamora learns about Soul World's decay because a fragment of her own soul was still trapped in Soul World. So with Gamora being the key that led Thanos to gaining this Infinity Stone, one could only hope that somehow she's still in there alive. Or maybe Black Widow, maybe? No? Please? Number 4, Hell. Hell is a world bound to the mind of its mistress and queen, Hela, ruler of the dead. The realm shifts by her will, its laws are ancient and her whims can twist those laws until they scream. Sounds lovely, let's do it, grab the kids, great. Valhalla is a realm of honor, Faerie is a realm of temptation, and Hell is the realm of trials. Is it weird that I low-key just want to like poke my head into this room, into this trial room, just to see what it's all about, you know? The first time we see Hell in the comics is in Journey into Mystery issue 102, and it's one of the 9 realms, and it's of course one of the many realms of death. It's actually the final resting place for the dead of the 9 realms. That's your last stop on the tour de life in those realms. So the appearance and nature of Hell can alter depending on what its queen wants. Sometimes Hell is a pit, sometimes it's a nice gorgeous palace, and sometimes it's a puzzle box. It doesn't always mean this is a horrible haunted place with ghouls screaming in your ears. No, not at all. It's more so the final resting place for those in the 9 realms. But if you're a it surely won't be a paradise like Elysium. It's going to be a bit hotter and a bit more harsher. Number 3, Sakaar. The first time we see this beautiful, terrifying land is in the Planet Hulk storyline from 2006. Sakaar is the 4th planet from the star Teo, and it's the only planet within the Teo star system known to be inhabited by sentient life. Sakaar is considered a savage planet that is full of extremes, but it's the most diverse geologically. I mean, we got great deserts, tropical paradises, mountains, volcanoes, Arctic wastelands, lakes, oceans, you name it. During the height of the Spike War, a cosmic vortex opened up near the planet's orbit, causing tidal waves, and the inhabitants actually viewed this vortex as the end times. I mean, yeah, that's more than fair. Even in Thor Ragnarok, they referred to this portal as the Devil's Anus. So, yeah, okay. The Great Devil's Anus portal disappears and then reappears over time. And what it does is it spits out debris and exotic alien species from all over the universe. So that one sweater you just can't seem to find anymore, maybe your ex doesn't have it after all. Maybe it's just getting shot out of the Great Vortex and now Korg is wearing it. Number 2, Asgard. While it may not exist anymore in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Odin has even said that Asgard is not a place, it is in fact a people. Well, it was once a place, and it was a pretty spectacular place too. As described by Lady Sif in the first Thor movie, Asgard is millennia beyond you in our pursuit of science and knowledge, and we have learned that there are some things that can never be understood. It's a land where magic and science are one of the same things. And in the comics, it was first seen in Journey into Mystery issue 85. Asgard was sadly destroyed at the end of Thor Ragnarok when Loki unleashed Surtur to destroy the land while Hela was doing her thing getting stronger. Now the remaining survivors boarded a starship and now they live as fishermen in a small village called Tonsberg in Norway. So you never know, you could be living in a paradise in the sky and then now all of a sudden you're catching salmon. Life happens fast. And finally, number 1, Sanctum Sanctorum. Perhaps one of the most magical places in the MCU aside from Asgard would have to be Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum, which we see Thor make a brief pit stop to and accidentally messes it up with Mjolnir. It may just look like a normal fancy pants apartment in New York, but on the inside it's full of these wonderful ancient magic artifacts. It's actually the same place that Stephen Strange first gets his trusty cape. Now the New York Sanctum is seen in the MCU in numerous timelines. We see the ancient one protecting it during the events of Avengers Endgame, and Doctor Strange currently watches over it located at 1778 Bleecker Street, and at one point in the comics it was the headquarters of the Defenders and the new Avengers. So could we maybe see that in the movies? Hopefully, because there's a lot of room and there's only 2 dudes living there. Like, come on, rent's not cheap, guys. The first floor has the drawing room, library, living room, dining room, and Wong's kitchen. Sounds like a pretty good time. The second floor consists of a study, Doctor Strange's bedroom, Wong's bedroom, and multiple guest bedrooms, perfect for some new Avengers. And the third floor is composed of the meditation chamber, my personal favorite, the mystical library, and the storage area for occult artifacts. So when Wanda decides to let all the evil leave her, in the next Doctor Strange, maybe she can cozy up and take the top floor. Seems like those rooms are quite fitting.